And as the investigation in D.C. continues, we're looking at steps taken to keep the skies safe here. You might not always realize it, but the airspace around central Ohio can be quite busy. NBC4's Eric Halperin is in Columbus with how Columbus police helicopters keep track of what's going on around them. Eric?
Jared, medical helicopters, Columbus police helicopters, and planes fly over the city every day. The deputy chief with CPD who oversees the aviation section says his pilots are in constant communication with air traffic control. A tragedy in our nation's capital. 67 people dead after a plane and military helicopter crashed Wednesday night.
First and foremost, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody involved in this tragic accident.
Columbus Division of Police Deputy Chief Robert Sagel is waiting to see what comes from the investigation in D.C. He oversees the aviation section of the division.
We always take and try to learn from things like this around the country and figure out if we're doing the best practices, if there's anything we can do better to ensure safety.
When helicopters get within a certain distance of John Glenn International Airport, they are required to be in touch with air traffic control. Sagel says even when CPD's helicopters are flying outside of those areas, they are still always in contact with the team at the airport.
You have to be vigilant at all times. I mean, our helicopter pilots' heads are on swivels at all times. It's not just looking for crime, it's looking for other aircraft.
Sagel is not the only Central Ohioan who's been following the aftermath of the crash closely. Katie Logan was on a flight from Columbus to Reagan International in 2013.
But then you have something like this happens and it reverts in your mind and you start thinking that could have had a really different outcome. And I feel very lucky that I didn't have that outcome, but you know, obviously feel for the victims and their families and loved ones.
As her flight was close to landing, she says the plane made a sudden and strong movement. She tells me after landing, the pilot said they had a near collision with a military helicopter. They also landed on the same runway Wednesday night's flight was headed to.
It's scary. You know, I know that flying is very safe. I know that, you know, this is very rare, but when you see so many similarities, it definitely gives me pause about flying into DCA again.
And Logan tells me she hadn't thought about her own experience until what happened last night brought it all back. As for the airspace here, Sagel says it's not just John Glenn that his pilots are always in touch with, but all the other Central Ohio airports too. Local for you, I'm Eric Halperin, NBC4.